Thank you for joining JD Messenger, the show that shares knowledge and experience from global experts. Now, once again, your host, JD Messenger.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm JD Messenger, and today we're going to be interviewing an amazing person, a man that I have known to come to love and think of as a brother. His name is Alden Mills, and we're going to be talking about the secrets to entrepreneurial success. Alden is a fellow Naval Academy graduate like me, and he also was a three-time Navy SEAL platoon commander. And he's got a list of accomplishments that, are simply amazing. And it makes you wonder, how did he do it? And we're going to talk about that. That's the secrets to success. He was a gold medalist in rowing and a varsity rower and captain. And he was one of the Inc. magazine's fastest growing 500, Inc. 500 fastest growing entrepreneurs. He's quite an inventor and creator with over 40 patents. And he's also a husband with 4 strapping young boys. So good afternoon, Alden. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great, JD. It's an honor to chat with you today.
Oh, I love it. We're gonna have a great time here. Alden, since the title of the show is The Secrets to Entrepreneurial Success, and some people don't have the time to listen to an entire 30-minute interview, so why don't we give them the quick, short answer? Is the secret to entrepreneurial success where you went to school? I mean, you went to a great school, the Naval Academy. Is that it? Is that what did it?
Nope. Yeah, definitely not.
You're a big guy, over 6 foot, strapping, former Navy SEAL, powerful, strong. So it's strength and height, right? It's a tall man theory. That's it.
Yeah. No, that didn't really help me that much at all. No.
Okay, so you're going to tell us it's genetics, right? You're born with it. It's in your DNA.
Absolutely not.
You're killing me here, man. Come on. I mean,
look, JD,
what? Yeah.
It's one thing, and it's always one thing. It's mindset. It always starts right here with mindset. Okay,
so let's go. We're going to break this into 3 parts. So who is Alden Mills? What's your story? And part 2, how did you learn this? What is this mindset stuff? And what are you doing about it now? So go back. We understand you're saying the secret to success, the secret to particularly entrepreneurial success is mindset. So where did Alden come from? Who's Alden? Why should we care? Tell us your story.
Well, look, I think the defining moment that really it started to transform my life was when I got diagnosed with asthma in this small town in central Massachusetts. And I can very distinctly remember that moment. I was in this little laboratory from a lung doctor, pulmonologist, and he had me blowing on all these different machines. And he looked like an old Danny DeVito with white hair and thick Coke bottle glasses, and he kind of talked in a nasally Massachusetts accent. And he says, I see what the problem here is, Mrs. Mills. And he had a chart, and he had kept this chart of all these different things and how I performed. And he's like, you see this chart right here, Mrs. Mills? He was born with smaller than average size lungs for a 12-year-old boy. Then he flips the chart, and it was another set of results, and they were all below the line. That was this average black line that went up and to the right. And he said, you see this one? He's got reactive airway disease. That's called asthma. Let me tell you something right now. There's 2 things I recommend for him. Number 1, he's got to take some medicine. And number 2, he needs to lead a less active lifestyle. I suggest a game of chess.
Game of chess?
Yeah. And, Mom saw my body posture immediately slumped down, chin drops onto my chest. She taps me on the shoulder and she goes, why don't you go wait in the lobby? I'll talk to the good doctor from here. By the time she comes out, I'm having a full pity party. Tears are rolling down my cheeks. And I remember making these little designs on the brown linoleum floor, and she came out in that offensive hand position with her hands on her hips, kicked my feet, and goes, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Mom, chess? How am I going to play chess? I'm terrible at checkers." Right? And I'd already gone there. And then she dropped to a knee. She had these long French cuticle nails that were filed for moments like this to get my attention. And she dug them into my forearm.
Oh my God.
Velociraptor, right? And she said, "Now you listen to me. Nobody defines what you can or can't do but you. You hear me?" Of course I didn't. She's like, "Say it back to me." And I said it back to her, but I didn't get it that day. And I didn't get it the next day. But month after month, they just kept playing this script. And she would say, "So what if you scored on your own team in basketball? Go try another sport." Right? And I a lot of sports didn't work out for me, but I kept trying because they kept saying, "You decide what you can or can't do." And that started a cascading series of successes. Failing at one sport to the next sport to the next sport, found a sport I succeeded at. Rowing. Rowing took me to the Naval Academy. Naval Academy took me to SEAL Team. SEAL Team took me to graduate school. Took me to starting my own business. Starting my own business took me to writing books. Writing books started to take me to stand in front of people around the world to help them find their own success.
But your story is reminding me a lot of mine. And, I didn't know that story, but, I'm really short, you're really tall. And when I was in high school, I wanted to play a sport, and, I was too small for basketball and too small for football. And I tried out for all these different things, and I found fencing. Fencing and rowing are not the average sport. It's not lacrosse and soccer and football and all that sort of stuff, but same thing happened. I went, that got me to the Naval Academy. My question for you is why? Why did you keep trying? Why did you keep trying different sports, failure after failure? Why didn't you quit, Mills?
Because I wanted to be good at something. I wanted to be good at something athletically. Like, to me, it was interesting to me to do something outside and be good at it. And I was like, in the very beginning, I immediately thought, "Oh my gosh, I got to learn the game of chess because here's this authority person telling me that." And the doctor was doing what doctors do. They're trying to keep us safe, right? But my mom was going, "Well, if you really want to go do something, you've got to just keep his advice as a suggestion, and you've got to decide what you can or can't do." And over time, that attitude helped me put asthma in check. It helped me conquer all kinds of fears, and it helped me break out of limiting beliefs and go after and turn some dreams into reality.
So I guess one of the lessons here is for all of the parents out there. You said, don't let it, your mom said, nobody defines what you can do or who you can be except yourself. And you called that attitude. Is that attitude? What is attitude?
Mindset.
Mindset. How is mindset different from attitude?
To me, attitude is a component of a mindset. See, I look at it as a whole series of mindset mechanics, and they're entangled, and they operate as a system together. If you have a mindset of "I can," but you've got this negative attitude of looking at the negative of everything, well, then you're going to be stuck in the muck, and you're not going to be progressing forward. What we believe, how we feel, what we think about, what we focus on are all components to getting our mind right, to committing our most valuable resources of time and energy to take an action toward the direction of our goal.
So let's go to the goal of being a Navy SEAL. That's not an average goal. It's a very challenging goal. You have to go through Hell Week, and, a lot of people don't make it, and they mess with your mind. Why? I want to understand Alden Mills. What's driving Alden Mills? Let our audience and listeners, why did you want to be a SEAL?
The first thing was I had a few passions in life. I don't think it was any mistake that rowing and I really clicked. I'd grown up on the water. I'd spent my summers in little rowboats, putzing around, rowing around, being the captain of my own little rowboat, my own little ship. And I loved being on the water. I loved the team environment of 8 people rowing in a boat together and getting their blades in on the water, right? There's no high point scorer. There's really no MVP. It's 8 of us working in unison. So there was the team element that I really thrived in. There was the water element that I really enjoyed. And I like the physicality of pushing my own body, right? So when it came time at the Naval Academy and I was walking down, the main thoroughfare going to class, and I bump into this Navy SEAL, and he has this totally unregulation mustache hanging down past the corners of his mouth, right? And he's got so many medals you can't even see the Navy SEAL trident over his shoulder. And at the time was the captain of the rowing team at the Naval Academy, and he said, "Hey Mills, you ever think about being a Navy SEAL?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I'm kind of kicking around." And I go, "What do they do anyhow?" And he's like, "You ever been bullied before?" Now, I had been bullied a lot as a kid because my mom kept my hair and my grandmother really long, and they called me Shirley Temple, and I had big hair, and I was a really big kid, right? So I was this man child in first grade, and the fourth graders, and then the fifth graders, and then the sixth graders. As I would move up, it seemed like it was always 3 classes above me wanted to pick on me. And I was like, "Yeah, actually, this one time," and I started telling about the time I was got bullied, and he put his hand up and he goes, "I just asked you if you've been bullied. I didn't say I wanted to hear about it." And I said, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "Well, that's what SEALs do. We go around the world and we knock back bullies. If you're interested, try out this weekend." So all of a sudden, I now had a purpose connected with the passions of team, of water. And I also knew that I was going to have to serve for 5 to 6 or 7 years after the academy. And that's what originally triggered the decision to go to SEAL team.
It's interesting. My last interview was with a man named Yuhal Riverhill. He's an author of a book called The Golden Book of Humanity. And he started off being bullied. And there's something about this bullying because a lot of people are bullied. And we either go down that path of, the pity party and low self-esteem and we feel bad and diminished, which happens to almost all of us. But, it sounds like you turned a corner and he turned a corner. And in his particular path, he learned that if I don't forgive them, if I don't open the heart, if I don't learn, love and passion, then this is going to suck the life out of me. Did you have some sort of epiphany as well about the bullying?
I sure did. I actually thanked them. And I remember thanking them, not in face to face. I don't think I've ever run across them again. But I remember, that's not true. I did run across a bully from high school, and I thanked him. And he was a terrible bully to me. I was a freshman and he was a senior. And I thank them because they had given me some fuel to go out there and fight for something that I really believed in.
Is that one of the, okay, so let's move on to part 2. So we've learned a little bit about Alden, and what did you learn? So you just started talking about something you learned, that one of the things was that you understood your passion, and you found, the water and the rowing and the team and all be in alignment, go in one direction. And then you found something that gave you a purpose. And you also learned to forgive those people. What else did you learn that led you to this path after the SEALs of, being an inventor and creating patents and eventually, tell us a little bit about your business too. We haven't heard, about what was this Inc. 500 fastest growing business in America. What did you do after you left the SEALs, and how does that relate to what you've learned?
Well, okay, so briefly I'll tell you about what I did after I left, and then I'll tell you what I learned.
Okay.
And one of the hardest decisions I ever made was leaving SEAL team. It's a great big family. They stand you up. You have to stand up in front of 240 people and tell them why you're leaving. Right? I cried.
Wow.
That was hard.
Yeah.
And I was newly married, and I knew I wanted to be a father, and I knew that had I gone on to my next command, that this would be a very hard place to raise a family because I'd be on the road for at least 180 days to 240 days. 1 year in SEAL team, I was on the road for over 300 days. So that was the time for me to make the break. I went to business school, made couple of big mistakes. My biggest mistake was I started following the money, moved out to San Francisco to strike it rich in stock options, and immediately failed, was totally miserable. I'm like, I'm out of here. I can't be a civilian. I got to get back to SEAL team. I went back into the reserves, but I was still a civilian, and I was always going back in full time. And my wife said, you've been talking about starting a business for the longest time. Why don't you do it now before we start multiplying? And I decided to pick an industry that was a part of my life, that was a transformative part of my life, and it would remain a part of my life. So I was like, if it's going to be a part of my life, why not work in it? So I picked fitness and started my first business called PT Metrics, totally failed. Started my next business called Body Rev, sold about $1 million worth, and then had about 2.5 million of costs associated with that million that we got in revenue. So that didn't pencil out. But with the remaining 25,000 that I had raised, because I'd raised $1.5 million, I went after my third business, which was this little product called the Perfect Pushup. And the Perfect Pushup, over the next 10 years, we sold probably 10 million units of perfect push-ups and perfect pull-ups and perfect ab carvers. And Inc. magazine called us the fastest growing consumer products company, the fourth fastest in the country. We went from basically 0 to 100 million in sales in less than 3 years. And by the way, after that, I looked at bankruptcy 2 more times. So I share all those things because I failed way more, if you want to count up failures, then I'm known for my successes, but I failed way more than I succeeded. And then I wrote a couple of books, Be Unstoppable, Unstoppable Teams, started getting on the speaking circuit, started a pet food company, started a security company, wanted to have these different experiences. But what I've really learned when I look back on it, and what people will ask, what really drove me to learn these, is that I was looking at my 4 boys and I'm like, what can I pass on to them? And, you started this interview saying, was it your education? Is that how you got to do all those different things? Or was it your size? Let me tell you, my size, I was terrible at doing push-ups, ironically, because I pulled all the time, right? That didn't help me at all. It was negative. And was it in your DNA? No, I actually did 23andMe recently. There's no line in there that says, oh, you got the success gene, right? And so the thing that I looked at was like, okay, what's my power? Like, what powered me through these things? And it was my ability to keep my mindset focused on what the next step was to take. No matter how many times I got knocked down, to get back up and keep going.
So I want to share some of the things you just said, because, I've done hundreds of interviews, and 98% of my clients are entrepreneurs, and the things you're saying, the things I experienced, and the things they experience. I want entrepreneurs and people listening to this show to hear this, because what Alden just said, he went through almost like the checklist. One, he left something that he thought was a future and a career, and he cried. It's actually important to cry. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It's a sign of love. He wanted to raise a family, and so he decided to put something aside that he thought was a career and passion to raise a family. He listened to his wife, You know, our partners know us really well, folks. And if you really want to know, if you're really struggling, go ask your wife or partner, you know, what do you think? Or give it to me straighter, because they know us better than we know ourselves most of the time. Another thing you said was you tried, you failed, you tried, you failed, you tried, you failed. You know, one of the lessons is that failure is only failure if you quit. And I like to say winners never quit and quitters never win. And fail often and fail fast, because the more often you fail and the faster you fail, then the quicker you learn how to find success. So let me go back to that. And then you said focus. So we're getting a lot of nuggets here that I suspect are leading up to this mindset. So let's shift to where we began, that the secret to success is not your education, it's not your height, it's not your DNA, it's a mindset. An attitude is a subset of the mindset. So what does it mean to have what you call an unstoppable mindset?
The way I define an unstoppable mindset is that anything that gets thrown at you is looked at as an opportunity to learn and grow. We will continue throughout our entire lives to be faced with all kinds of obstacles. An unstoppable mindset isn't just taking you to some destination and saying, look, I made it on top of the unstoppable mountain. I'm here. We're done. No, it's a mindset of continually embracing, how can I learn from this? What will this experience teach me? And if you are able to embrace that and not allow the doubt and the fear and your ego and your insecurity, which we all have, creep inside you and slow you back into that zone of mediocrity called the comfort zone, then you'll be unstoppable. But it's hard to get there, to embrace looking at bankruptcy, not once, not twice, but 3 times, being within that 30-day window, and everybody else is telling you it can't be done. And you figure out a way to shift your mindset to say, you know what, that's what they think. I'm going to have my own script and I'm going to write it. And here's what we're going to make happen.
Okay, I'm going to challenge you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So here's this guy, you know, he's different than me. He's got all this stuff done, and you know, but you know, I lost my job because of COVID, and I'm struggling for food, and I got some government money, or I got maybe I got an SBA loan, or I got a severance check and I got laid off. But, you know, I got all these issues in my head, you know, I got all these things I'm worried about, fear, you know, food, security. Are people going to believe me? Am I going to succeed? So come on, Mills, how do I overcome that? How do I get all that out of my head?
Well, the first thing you've got to ask yourself is a really simple question. Is that helping you? Ask yourself that. No, you gotta hold a mirror up to yourself. You know, when people hire me to be their coach, that's all my job is to hold this mirror up and say, that's great. You don't think anyone will believe you because you didn't go to XYZ school? Is that the excuse you want to give yourself? Is that helping you get to your destination? When you start to really peel back all the different negative thoughts, all the different excuses that are bouncing around in our head, they're there to stop us from taking the action that really could matter and make the difference. To your fictitious person that you just brought up, let's call that person Joe. And Joe's got a little bit of money, but he's got all these things that are anchors holding him back from it. What one thing could Joe do to move in the direction that would help him make a difference?
What is it? Hire you as a coach?
The first thing Joe can be thinking about is stop thinking about himself and start thinking about how he could serve somebody else.
All right.
So
Now
the first thing that
music to my ears.
Yeah, I mean, JD,
Why is that so important?
What?
Why is that so important?
Serving others?
Yeah.
Because that's the way the world and the universe works. The more complicated the system, the simpler the rules. And one of the most important rules is the more you end up serving without expectation of return, giving to others, it boomerangs back. It will come back to you.
Occam's
Stop
razor.
thinking about yourself, Joe, and start thinking about who you can serve.
And from a, I'm going to ask you a leading question because, I think everything is energy and energy is everything, and that our thoughts create reality. But what is it, sort of at a physical or a metaphysical level, that is taking what you're saying from just like some kind of pithy statement to something that is sort of grounded or rooted in science? Why is it that when we serve others that we receive in return?
You said it yourself. We're energy. We're energy beings. And energy attracts like energy. And the more we give of ourselves, what is the most powerful energy there is? Love. The more we serve others from a position of our heart, that puts more in alignment to come back and give to you. But you've got to do it from your heart. If it's just about your bank account, you'll always find yourself, even if you hit the number, not fulfilled.
How do you know whether you're doing something from your heart or your head? That's a tricky one.
It can be. And the best way I can tell you, it has to do with your gut. We've got some of the same neurons in our brain that we have down in our gut, just a lot less of them. And everybody here knows that pit in their stomach, like, yeah, I'm kind of mailing this in. I'm just doing it to get this buck or that buck. You can sense it when you feel it in your gut, like, wow, that felt light, felt helpful, right?
Mm-hmm.
That made me feel good. And all of a sudden, when you stop thinking about yourself and start serving others, guess what you're not thinking about? Your own plight, right? Your own misery. And all of a sudden, that attitude of negativity of I can't do this, I can't do that. Well, it shifts to, well, I just did that. I just helped this person.
So let's go back to the academy or rowing and sports or SEAL team. What is it about those units? Like, why is it that we can join one of those communities, groups, teams, or forums and become something bigger than ourselves?
Because we have all done a selfless act. We start off and we're inherently selfish beings, right? We want to make sure that we survive, that we get enough food. For some of us, it's to propagate, right? Those basic little needs. But then it's the selflessness that comes together that unifies a team to do something that's a force multiplying effect greater than any single individual. But for that to happen means people can't be worried who gets the credit.
So when reflecting back on what we talked about earlier, when you tried something, failed, and then all of a sudden come up with the perfect push-up and, $100 million, 10 million units or whatever it was, what did something like that happen? And the reason I'm asking the question, and I'll let you think about it for a second, is because I'm trying to make a point for our entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs out there on the difference between a wannabe entrepreneur who might be a solopreneur or a single individual versus somebody that is a very successful entrepreneur. Because I think one of the big differences between a wannabe and a very successful is that you form a team, and that your team, it's all for one and one for all. And that, it's very difficult to be an entrepreneur on your own. So going back, was there any of that was a difference for you, or, between the failures and the success?
Yes. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack in what you just asked.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The first thing I would encourage all entrepreneurs to understand is, what are your values? What are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Like, what is it that you're really looking to do? And I looked at this business as, I thought of other kids, younger Aldens out there, that were being told, hey, go learn the game of chess, kid, because you just got to play it safe. And I was thankful enough to have this wonderful mother in my life that helped me rewire my brain, right? And I have this mantra of take control of your body, take control of your life. The same rules to succeed at anything. They're the same. Doesn't matter, right? But the same rules to take control of your body are the same rules to go out and build a business. My first point is, why? What is it you're really trying to do? For me, my mission statement was, I wanted to positively impact and help 1% of the US population take control of their body. I thought if we could get a beachhead of 1%, then maybe we could get to 10. And then from 10, we could infect a positive attitude of taking control of people's bodies, right? So that was the big service-minded mission of the business. Then I needed to find people that were great at everything I suck at. And a lot of people that I would run across, certainly in business school, are like, oh no, I'm great at everything. I got straight A's on everything. Can you see? I'm straight A's. I'm like, well, I didn't. That wasn't me. I failed all kinds of classes. I sucked at all kinds of stuff. I knew what I was terrible at. So I needed to find somebody that could match the values of what I was doing and say, yeah, I'm in alignment. I want to be a part of that. And I found that with a 6'5" volleyball player who had loved volleyball and had made a big impact in his life, but he was an operations guru. I was a sales and marketing fanatic. And then we started building that team. And as we built that team, you have to be very careful not to lose sight of why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. And this is the second big thing that I learned, is that I forgot at one point why I built the business I built, because I got so focused on just producing more and serving the beasts of Dick's and Walmart and Target and Carrefour and Tesco and selling to 5 different continents around the world. And ironically, it's when I looked at bankruptcy for the second time. My business started falling apart because I forgot the purpose and just focused on the profit. And at just the right time, the universe came to me, and I got this little letter from a 13, 14-year-old boy, and it said, "Dear Mr. Perfect Push-Up Man, my grandmother gave me the perfect push-up from Walmart. That was our lowest priced unit. It was $20. I followed your workout routine 4 times. Now, our workout routine was 3 weeks long, so he did 12 weeks of it. And I made the JV football team. Next year, I'm trying out for varsity. Thank you for presenting the perfect push-up, Johnny, number 25.
Isn't that great?
And by the way, I'm 30 days away from filing bankruptcy. I took that letter, put it in the very front door, and everybody walked in. I gathered everybody up, and I said, this is why we're in business. We're in business for the Johnnies. We need to get back to stay focused on what we're really doing. And you know what? We found a way to stave off that bankruptcy when everybody else said it wouldn't happen. And it's one thing that can really send a message to all entrepreneurs out there. It's a mindset shift of what it is you're in business for, right? Why you get up every day. Everything that makes the difference between average and awesome, failing or succeeding, it always starts with your mindset. Mindset matters.
So let's summarize here, and we'll come to a conclusion in just a couple of minutes. You talked about the secret to success is mindset and how attitude is a subset of that. You talked about some of the, I guess you might say the normal process, try and fail, building a team, having common values. But am I correct in assessing that you think the number one most important thing is why, that it's not about the outcome, is not about the money. The money is a result of fulfilling a purpose, and that the why you're doing it is really the primary driver between moderately successful or unsuccessful entrepreneurs and very successful entrepreneurs?
So I will throw one caveat in there. Everybody loves talking about, I got my why. I'm going to, cure cancer and save the whales and do everything under the sun. Well, that's great. A strong why is very important. And the more emotionally attached you can be to it, the better. But also how you do these things is equally important, right? You can have the strongest why in the world, but you go out and rob banks to supply your why. Well, that's illegal, and that's not good, right? That's not okay. And how you interact with your team, how you execute, and how you get up in the very beginning of every day and decide to take what valuable few things you can control, your time, your energy, your focus, and understand those mindset mechanics, you will be successful.
All right. So the Unstoppable Mindset with Alden Mills. You can learn more about Alden at alden-mills.com, and your two books, Unstoppable Teams and Be Unstoppable. So what's next? What's coming next, my friend?
The most important next thing I have is that I have taken 35 years of mindset missions and have built out the Unstoppable Mindset course.
All right. Well, I wish you all the best success. It's been a real pleasure having you here, and good luck to you, brother.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, JD.
All right. My honor. Okay. Thanks very much for being here. And this is JD signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.